The Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You are with Simone Milasas, your host. How does it get any better than this? You're with me every week. And now by this time, you're probably sick of me saying that joke, but I just think it's funny that I say, hey, I'm here. And of course you're going to be here because it's my podcast. So, and I am here with the lovely, amazing Justine McKell. Welcome, Justine.
Thank you for having me today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a different odd thing today. We're actually going to do we're going to flip it and have a bit of an interview style that Justine is actually my PR agent. And God, how long have we been working together?
It's got to be 8 years. Yeah, at least 8.
Okay,
yeah.
At least 8 years. So we've been working together for 8 years. She's the PR agent for Access Consciousness, which is a massive company worldwide. She also does a lot with our Relationship Done Different and our relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? Mine and Brendan Watt's book, the latest book that we have out. And if you have not checked that out, please go to Amazon. Relationship, full stop. Are you sure you want one? Question mark. So Justine's got a bunch of questions that she's going to ask me today because we had a few topics that we wanted to cover. So over to you, Justine.
Yeah, awesome. So I think, look, your book's been out since January, and obviously you gave me a bit of a heart attack when you released the book and you both decided to end your relationship.
Yeah, we just wanted to keep you on your toes, like how to keep, if you think you've got everything organized and your ducks in a row, nope, we're going to release this book just as we're breaking our relationship up.
So that threw a bit of a curveball, but I actually used it to our advantage. And I keep asking you, what's the next book? What's the next book coming? But almost like it's even 6 or 8 months later, I wanted to see where you guys are at with your relationship now that it's...
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a good question. And just so you know, I think my next book is on money, sort of more wealth creation is what I'm looking at, because the last one I've got Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. But I recently did a private session with someone, and I asked them what was up, and they said money, and I immediately assumed, which you should never assume, oh, okay, we're going to start talking about, the basic tools of access consciousness with money. And they said to me, hey, let me just give you some information. I've actually got money. I've got a lot of money. But what I'm noticing is that I'm not creating anything more. And I was like, great. And we had the best session. It was awesome. So that's basically where I'd like my next book to be from, is how do you go beyond this reality with money than what you've ever perceived possible? Yeah. So that's my next project. And in the meantime, yes. So Brendan and I, actually, I think it's almost a year. We were laughing last night. It's almost a year since he said to me, I require space, was how he sort of broke up with me, was I require space. And then, it took about a month until we eventually went, okay, so you actually want to break up, right? So let's just say the words, let's do it. And, we've got a Zoom coming up, which is interesting. On the 1st of October, I think it is, we're going to be at our castle in Italy. And it's a live Zoom with myself and Brendan, and the title of the call is called Breaking Up is Easy. And it was really interesting because a lot of the people that we work with went, oh, what if we put it into what if breaking up was easy? And I said, no, let's just twist and fuck with this reality, because it's so much of it is always, breaking up is hard, whatever. So I can see this graphic in my head, whether we do it or not, of breaking up is hard, crossed out, easy. Every day hasn't been yay, the birds come in and singing. Well, the birds actually still do sing, especially in Australia. But it hasn't been this completely and utterly, every moment has been easy. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is using the Access Consciousness tools, thank you, God, thank you, Gary Douglas, thank you, Dane here, thank you, me, thank you, Brendan Watt, for the Access Consciousness tools. And it makes it a lot easier. There's definitely been some rough roads. And I mean, mainly, I think one of the main things too was that Brendan started seeing one of my friends, a friend that I've been, friend with her since before Brendan. And it was I think 6 weeks after we broke up, and then they started seeing each other. And that wasn't actually the piece that was not the easiest. It was that they lied about it, and I asked them numerous times because, you as an infinite being, when something is going on. And I knew, and I asked, and they kept saying, no, no, no. So eventually when I did find out, that's when I was like, wow. Like we're going to Rome in September to Paca de Principe for Dane here's maestro class. And we also got this Zoom happening in the castle. And Brennan goes, oh my God, he goes, I've got serious, what is it? What is it?
PTSD, is it?
PTSD from the castle and the Paca de Principe, because that's the hotel that he told me what was going on with this friend of ours. And in the castle, we were there immediately afterwards, where I was just like, I'm done. Like we were laughing the other night because I thought that I had no idea how to withdraw my energy from someone's universe to the extent that I did. And he was like, oh no, you do it really well. Because I was like, I'm done. Like the lies, I'm done. And I withdrew my energy. And, he had a horrible time. I was so angry. But what I'm going to say is, what if that was easy? Like the mantra of access consciousness is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. What if, some of those things that occurred can sort of match the energy of trauma and drama? And I've heard people literally 20 years later be bitching and moaning about something that occurred with their relationship rather than be in the moment. And one thing I learned was to be angry, because I had always withheld that and always suppressed my anger. And when this occurred, I just was angry, and I was enjoying being angry. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that went on for Brennan as well. I can't really talk for him with that. And what I'm going to say is we both sort of took it head on and went, okay, what next? And there's been even, I don't know, a couple of months ago, there was some stuff occurring that I was like, hey, I'm getting really cranky at you, and I'm not really sure what's going on. And he said, oh, I'm still lying to you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, you know what? I'm pretty much done. If you want to keep lying, I will work with you. I will create with you, but I'm not looking to create a friendship with you. And we had a great conversation. We both cried, as we do. And ever since then, the friendship that we have been creating has been quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people were saying, oh, God, I don't even know if Simone will talk to you for 2 years. And it's not even 6 months. I think it's just on 6 months since, all this stuff sort of exploded. And we are he's one of my best mates. So I'm incredibly grateful for him. And I'm grateful for everything.
Yeah. But that's such a not this reality's perspective or take on it. You didn't really stay angry for too long. I think almost your friends and acquaintances stayed more angry than you, and you dealt with it so elegantly. I've never seen anyone just so much ease, so much grace with everything. And I think that's an inspiration for people, that they can actually break up easily, right?
Well, yeah, I just kept moving on. Yeah, it was funny. I was the one that was consoling his sister. There was a bunch of friends that I was the one helping you guys out. And I remember Douglas was like, it should be the other way around, right? And I was like, well, it should be, but that's not what's occurring. It's people are ringing me upset, and I'm actually having to talk them down, from being so angry. But I was angry, and it was probably 3 or 4 days. And then I eventually went, God, this is exhausting. I was like, I'm done. And then I actually saw Brandon and I said, hey, do you want to come have lunch? And we went and had lunch together, and we just, and I know so many people were looking and judging and projecting and expecting us to be a certain way. And that's the thing. It's whatever occurs with when you are breaking up a relationship, you need to choose for you. It's about, Dane here has written a brilliant book called Being You, Changing the World. I've worked with Access Consciousness for 18 years, and I'm not kidding. Seriously, this morning, I had a chat with Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access, and I went, wow, I think I just got Dane's book. It's not about being somebody else, whatever you be. Because one of the things I was talking about with myself is I automatically go to do things for other people, and to fix things, be available, and etc. And I was talking about that, and he said, yeah, but that's you. And I was like, yeah, but maybe. He said, what, that you want to stop it? And I went, yeah. And he said, but then you wouldn't be being you.
Yeah, right.
And it was like, and I was talking about somebody else and about how they quit a lot of things. And he said, yeah, but that's them being them. They quit. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So I really got this different perspective on what it is to be you. And if you are being you the entire time that you're in a relationship and being you when you break up a relationship, and I've said this before and I'd like to reiterate it, that the relationship is not about breaking up with you as a person. It's not personal. You're literally breaking up the relationship. It doesn't mean that you're less than. And I see so many people go to that they're less than. I mean, even I went down that road too when Brendan started, seeing this friend of ours that it's like, oh, so now I'm, what am I, chopped liver, second rate? It's like they're whatever, but it's not personal.
No, it's one of my favorite quotes that you've said, never ever make yourself less than or wrong than if someone breaks up with you, because I think, yeah, you do go down that track. Like that's your first thought. Like, yeah, what does this person have better than me? I guess one of the hardest things as well is like, well, not hard. You're showing that it's not hard, but ending the relationship, finances is such a big topic. Like, what do? Do you split things in half? And I was asking my partner actually about this, and he had a question. He was like, how some people use money as a weapon against the other person and will fight for, fuck you, I'm going to take the house, I'm going to take the dog, so fuck you. Like, so yeah, how do you actually?
Okay, so I did do that. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. That's I really like, because it is about like, yes, breaking up is easy, and you get some really crunchy moments, but don't make them solid and don't make them significant. Like, get through them, and I did do that. I went, right, I'm taking the house, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because we have a lot of investments together, and it felt really fucking good to do it. I was just like, right, and this was actually when I found out that he was sleeping with his friend, okay? When we actually broke up, I was like, okay, let's do this where, splitting everything, etc. When I found this out and that they'd been lying to me for months, I went, that's it. I'm taking the house. I'm doing this. And it felt good. And that's the thing. It's like I indulged in it. And that's literally and the thing I would like people to get the freedom on is indulge in it. Doesn't mean because you chose that, you have to act upon it for the future. I indulged in it. And Brendan, like, I take my hat off to him. He actually went, you can have whatever you want. I'm so sorry. I've been lying to you for months.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went, right, I'm taking this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And then when we started to meet with the accountant, and I was like, oh, God, this feels like it didn't make me feel lighter. Like even, my father died years ago, and he has this beautiful ring that Brendan has of my father's. And I said to him, and I want my dad's ring back. And he was like, okay. And we were at the castle one night and having dinner, and he sat down next to me because I said, hey, do you want to sit down? Because it was like, this is just really strange, And he had the ring in his hand and he gave it to me. And I looked at the ring, and immediately I just looked at it and went, God, nothing about this makes me feel lighter.
Yeah.
And then I just handed it straight back to him. And we both started crying, and Gary actually saw it and he went, that was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen. He's like, well, my dad adored Brendan.
Yeah.
It's like, and I adored my dad, and I know that he would want him to have the ring. And we did a class in Mexico the other day, and I noticed that he was wearing it, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's like you can have this place of getting angry and having that like, and then choose what's going to work.
Yeah.
So when I started looking at it, and I went, okay, so the house I live in is split between us, and I was saying I was going to take it, and now it's like we both own it. I live in it. I mean, I'm even paying half his rent. Like we mixed everything, like the mortgages, everything. We have a joint bank account now that we put a certain amount of money into, which pays off. We had 3 mortgages and his rent. So we thought, okay, let's just pay it all off and do this. Nash's school fees, the kids' school fees. And we did actually sell one of the properties that we have. We just needed some cash flow, and we travel 10 months of the year. So we went, let's just do that. So we have been talking about everything. Like I bought him out of some stuff because he needed more money. So I bought him out of some stuff. And then also we have an investment in Costa Rica. So we're actually under discussion of that, because I'm like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm not willing to pay for him, but I'm willing to include him. Whereas before, I mean, for years, I was the one who earned way more money than him. And it's like, and he's starting to earn a lot more money now too, which is great. So then he has more choice, and it's not about me sort of, controlling the situation. So I'm saying to him, okay, so this investment needs to be paid off by this time. You tell me what you want to do. I'm happy to go 50-50 or, 70-30, whatever it is you want to do, but what can you contribute to it? So I'm sort of laying it out there as a choice and a question, and allowing it to evolve.
Yeah, so there's no answer, right? You're just dancing with it every single day, which...
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And what we even did was, at first we were like, I mean, I was even like, I mean, our company is Milasas What Trust, and I was like, I want to change the company name, not have Brennan's name in it. Like, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was furious, but I'm so grateful I allowed myself to be that angry and be that furious. And then I went, oh, hang on a second, what's actually going to create something greater? Yeah. So he actually, when we split, because Australian taxation, end of June, so 1st of July, and we made sure that as of the 1st of July, we started, separate companies. So I have my own company, he has his own company, and then we also kept the company that's both of us. So, for example, sales that go through Relationship Are You Sure You Want One goes through that company that's both of ours. So what we looked at was, he needs his company, I need mine, and then what can we generate together still? Because the one thing that we recognized was we were really good at creating wealth together. So why would we stop it just because we've broken up our relationship?
Yeah, and I think this is the part when you said, oh, we're still looking at buying property together. And I was like, what the hell? Like, that doesn't, in this reality, like you've broken up for over a year now, and you've just, you're separating all your finances. Most people would just either be in court to try and do it, and that takes years and years. But you're actually in that place where you're like, actually, no, we're going to start, creating something together again.
Yeah, and it's I got to say, the energy, it might not make any sense, but the energy that we are choosing that from is based on an honoring of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I really love the house that I live in that we created together. Like, we did a lot of renovations. You've seen it. I mean, a mutual friend of ours, Christopher Hughes, went, wow, this is quite an extravagant house for one person, isn't it, Simone? And I went, yeah, it is. Like, I would never have chosen to live in a house this big for one person. And I love being here. I mean, we have 3 massive bathrooms, like, this gym, like 2 offices. It's great. I love it. So I'm very grateful that we created that. And I thank him quite often. Like, when I'm at home, especially, I'm like, God, we did a good job with this, because he really looked at every nook and cranny to make sure everything was perfect, from a tile to a light to, how he set it up. So I'm incredibly grateful for this house, and that I'm the one that is living in it. So with that, and I know this might not make any sense, but with that, there's an honoring that I would like to have of him as well. If he would like to have a place or a space in Australia, what if we actually invested in something that we could, Airbnb, and he could stay in when he's at home, etc. Yeah. So I would be honoring of that, to invest in that with him so that he could have that choice as well.
That just blows me away, your kindness and caring for him. Like, a lot of people would not be in that space to do that. And that just, it makes me melt, and inspires me to a different possibility post-relationship as well, because your kindness, like with Brendan, and I guess it's the same, like, you created your relationship out of honor and kindness and those 5 elements of intimacy, which is, I was going to ask you next, like, if someone's in a relationship and they're breaking up, what are your steps? But I guess that first one is uncreating it with the same 5 elements of intimacy you talk about.
Yeah, and the 5 elements of intimacy is having gratitude, trust, honor, vulnerability, and allowance. And it is having those 5 elements of intimacy with yourself is imperative.
Yeah.
So you've got to be grateful for yourself. You've got to be vulnerable with yourself. You've got to be trusting of yourself. You've got to be, honoring of you and an allowance of you. And then you can actually have that with somebody else. And even now it's like, I know this morning that something occurred and I was like, and And I went, oh, okay, but I'm actually expecting Brendan to be a certain way, and that's not what he's choosing.
Yeah.
Like even now, a year later. So why am I expecting that? So that's when, that beautiful quote that Gary Douglas said, question and allowance will give you all the freedom that you want in life.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So then applying that to someone else that might be going through a breakup or ending their relationship, what in summary, what would you say are those like 3 steps or 3 things that you could have a little bit more ease with finances? Because, I don't, at the moment, like my brother's in court, like trying to battle for half of his, like 70% of his house. And it's just, it gets messy. And the only person hurting it at the end of it is himself, because he's still in that indulging phase and angry phase 3 years later. He doesn't seem to have those elements of intimacy.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, so one of the things I would say is allow yourself to be angry, indulge in it. And do it well. Like I've never had like every molecule in my body was like just shaking of how angry I was when I found out that Brendan was, shagging this friend of ours. And I was so angry and I really indulged in it. But like I said, it was less than a week and I went, my God, this is exhausting and boring. I'm done. So what I would say is indulge in whatever you desire. If you want to be angry, if you want to be, whatever it is that you desire to be, indulge in that. Don't make it wrong, but know that you can get out of it and you can change it. Like if you're listening to this and it's 3 years later or 20 years later, oh my goodness, seriously, this is your life. What the fuck do you want to create with your life? Like I'm not going to, create my life being angry at Brendan. It's like, that's boring. And it's like, what would I like to create? So indulge in whatever it is, like do whatever it is. If you just want to like vent, and you can even, pretend you're talking to a friend and it's like, make a video. It's like make a SoundCloud or something like that. And it's like drink a bottle of wine, do whatever you need to do and be willing to go to World War III with the person. Okay. That would be the second step. We actually, at one stage, we went out into the veranda and Brendan and I said, okay, we need to chat about everything that's going on. And we took a bottle of wine out onto our veranda and we were both willing to create World War III. You know what? It's probably one of the best conversations that we'd had because we were so willing to lose each other that we were actually willing to see the greatness of one another.
Wow.
So when you're willing to lose the other person, like how much do you hang on to the anger because somewhere you're pissed off and you've taken it as something that was personal, you weren't willing to lose them, etc. If you're willing to lose everything, you can have everything, however that shows up.
Yeah, I love that.
And then the third thing I want to say is too, each situation is completely different. It's sort of like saying, how do you parent correct? It's like, no, there's no handbook for parenting. There's a whole lot of hints out there and there's a whole lot of advice you can get. But each child is different and each situation is different and each parent is different. So each relationship is different as well. So what I would look at is look at your financial situation and what you created. And when you are breaking up the relationship, not breaking up you, breaking up the relationship, what would you like that financial situation to be? Like, I had 8 amazing years with Brendan.
Yeah.
So I don't wish to dismiss that. And we did create, like we had a mutual friend of ours who just went, you know what, you guys created more wealth in 8 years than most people create in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And we acknowledged that too. And then went, okay, so what would it take for us to still keep generating that no matter what that looks like? And we have no idea, just keep asking questions. So with your finances, have a look at what's actually going to create, and I want to say like the lightness for you and for them. Like I could have got away with saying, I'm taking the house. But when I looked at it, it's like, God, it felt heavy. And it had this energy of, me being an asshole for taking the house. And it's like, and not having his energy in the house also did not make me lighter in the sense of I know he'll contribute to this house and contribute to whatever we choose to do with it. If I choose to sell it in years to come, etc. So you've got to be willing to be totally brutally honest with you on what it is that is going to work for you and also work for them. And it really comes back down to, Justine, that you are not less than because the relationship is no longer in existence. So you will only make yourself less than if you choose the trauma and drama, and you choose the breakup of relationship as the significance of you, and you choose that as the definition of you, because it's not.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I see it like you're just going to end up in 3 years later, 20 years later. I know a lady that does my facial, she just doesn't want to break up with her husband, even though she's miserable, because she's worried he's going to take half of everything that she's worked for years and years and years. And she'd rather be in the relationship and miserable than him walking away with half of what she owns, which is just, yeah, it's crazy. But I think like a big thing that you also said is the acknowledgement of the good times, because at that breakup, it's just, not a lot of people remember the good times. It's all about the bad times and the payback. Whereas, yeah, what you said, like, and that Brendan actually contributes to you, which I learned from you as well. It doesn't have to be, he might not be earning as much money as you, but it's the other things he does in your business, and that you're actually acknowledging, actually, I wouldn't have been here without him. So I think that's an important thing that you said.
Yeah. And be willing to acknowledge when the relationship is done. And I've got to, take my hat off to Brendan. He actually did do that, because we didn't really have any bad times. Like we don't have some, horror story to tell anyone or say, oh, we fought so much the last year. We didn't. We've still never had a fight, ever.
Wow.
And even when we broke up, it was more because, gosh, our lives have changed so much. And, going around the world and facilitating classes, and how much access consciousness had changed and everything, our lives have changed a lot. And that was more so sort of where we were going from. Like, I know Brendan was like, I've got to find out what it's like to actually create for me. So it was a very different breakup in that sense. And I know he wasn't breaking. I actually know he wasn't breaking up with me to be with somebody else. And he's even looking at that now of like, how much he's always relied on relationship rather than actually relying on himself, which is a really, important aspect. My whole, overall view of this, Justine, is that this is your life. I turned 50 this year, and I'm so grateful for everything that I've created in my life. And I'm so grateful for what I am still creating and what else is occurring. And I wouldn't want my 20s for anything back. That wasn't the best thing in the world at all. 30s were pretty good. 40s were excellent.
Yeah.
I'm, asking what would it take for the 50s to outcreate the 40s, and not making your life about someone else. It's like it should be a contribution. And even in the breakup, what if it was still a contribution? Like Brendan is still a massive contribution to me. We would talk every day.
Yeah. Which is weird.
Yeah. I know. Like you said, like when, a PR nightmare when we write this book and then we break up, but it actually wasn't. It was a huge what's right about we're not getting. The media loved it as well.
It was probably more of a talking point, because they're like, what the?
Yeah.
So what about you personally now? I love finding out like what investments you're doing or playing with, because you go randomly from, I own a bit of an antique store to, today I'm investing in a castle. So is there anything that you're looking at or playing with at the moment?
One of the main things that I'm looking at the moment is the property that we have in Costa Rica. So I'm putting a lot of my money towards that at the moment, because I would like that friggin' place built. My horse just had a baby, and it's the cutest thing in the world. If you want, you can see it on my Instagram. I just named her Tesoro, which means treasure in Spanish. And it was very interesting for your horse to have a baby. And I went, God, we need to build this place in Costa Rica. I want to go to my casa and then have my horse just outside my casa, so I can just jump on her in the morning and or just go and pat her. So I'm off to Costa Rica tomorrow. I am asking what else does it require so that we can actually start putting, the spade in the soil and start building this place. So that's definitely where a lot of my energy is lying at the moment. And I'm also looking at different investments of different properties around the world. I'm realizing that I really love this place in Australia, and I would also like to have a place somewhere in the Americas, wherever that is, and then somewhere in Europe. And instead of just talking about it, what action do I need to do to actually start creating it? So it's sort of in question and in creation, and yeah, what else is possible?
Exactly. I was going to say, you put that what else is possible into possible. Like, I don't know how it was going to come out, but every time I talk to you, I get like so excited going, damn, I got to start creating some stuff, or just even taking that first step, really. Like, yeah.
I had a huge breakthrough the other day. I love it. 18 years of using Access consciousness tools, and I still have these moments where I'm just like, whoa. And I realized with Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access, and he has been, he's been pretty ill since March. He's getting way better. He rode his horse the other day and he looked like such a handsome, sexy cowboy. It was awesome. And he plans to go riding in Costa Rica next week as well. And but things changed. Access changed, the schedule changed, and he's very aware that he would like to do, say, one class a month, one telecall, and that there's more on our schedule, etc. So the whole setup that what we've been creating in the last 18 years has changed, as it always does. And what I realized the other day, I was like, I was under the impression that I was earning less money, and which was fine. Like, I just keep creating. I never really made it about the money. But I was talking to Gary, and what I realized was I had made him the source of creation. I had made the money that I earned from him as the source of creation. And when I actually, Jesus, I do, seminars on this. I have a year-long program on this. I've written a book about it, and I hadn't done it in ages. So I went, Simone, stop getting distracted by everything on your computer and sit down and look at your finances. Yeah. And I spent about an hour and a half the other day and looked at my finances and bring Gary back and went, hey, guess what? I've just realized that you're not the source of creation. I'm the source of creation. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I have actually created more money this past year from the things that I have chosen to do and that I've done than what I've earned, say, from him. Yeah. So it was very interesting, and I hadn't earned less money. I had earned more money, but I hadn't bothered to look at it because I was making something else the source of creation. Wow. So what I'd say is, how many of you out there are making someone or something else the source of creation, rather than if you start to make you the source of creation, what else can show up? Like, I was talking to Lauren Marie about, she runs the Creative Edge Club. And if you don't know about the Creative Edge Club, check it out. It's brilliant. It's these monthly calls that you get with Gary, Dane, or myself and Brendan. And I said, and she's like, she's been talking to me about the promo of it and everything. And she was at my house the other day. We're sitting at the kitchen bench. And then I said to her, you know what, Lauren, things might actually change now, because I've just realized I am a source of creation. So, and already in the past 24 hours, I just met with her at the beach and we were talking about different things, and it's already started to open up. So I do get that if you're actually willing to acknowledge that you are the source of creation, then things start to open up. So I'm going to give you a process that you guys can use. And even if you run this, put it on a loop, what energy, space, consciousness, and choice can you, your bodies, and your business be that would allow you to be the greatest source of creation for all eternity? And everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, it doesn't mean that you just make it about you, but you start receiving everything that you be. You start receiving all the choices that you make.
Yeah.
Different reality.
Yeah, amazing. And just don't look for any answer, because I just see you guys asking questions and questions, and just magically, miraculously, it always shows up. Just never how you think it is. So.
No. And it's a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
People try and make things so friggin' hard. And as you know, Justine, there's only one thing you want hard in life.
That made me blush. On that note.
On that note, yes. More questions? Or I think we should.
Yeah. Oh, no, my gosh. So many pearls of wisdom there. Thank you so much. That was brilliant.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming on and interviewing me here. And if you'd like to find out more about Access, go to accessconsciousness.com. You can also go to my website, SimoneMilasas.com, and find a Joy Business Facilitator near you, accessjoybusiness.com. And thank you so much, Justine, for coming on here. I adore you, and I would like to request again, can you please move to the Sunshine Coast?
Yes, I think I'm nearly ready to take the leap. Yeah.
Right, because you could have come to the beach today with us. A good Queensland winter.
I know, I saw it. Very jealous.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Bye-bye.